tying all that.
I think so too. To be honest with you, my business partners are really want to stay true to boxing.
I
That
get
really
it. Yeah, that
depends.
makes sense.
That depends on, obviously, I'm a huge MMA fan and I
Right.
obviously love grappling. So I'm the only one that's sort of on that side of things. Having said that, it really depends on kind of where our influences and influential people in our circle kind of take us down the road.
Mhm.
I mean, let's face it, if we're business people, if you're gonna follow the money, right? Like at some point,
Yeah.
or it's a hobby and get a job or whatever, right? So um but we had break dancers in our halftime show. We
Oh, that's
often thought
awesome.
about, yeah, we often thought about having, we had a local, like a local rapper come in. I always sing the national anthem, which is just hilarious that this is what
That's
I've become. So,
amazing.
yeah, but what I really love is seeing how Karate Combat is now doing,
Yes.
what they're doing. You got to see JI, like the Craig Jones Invitational coming in. Now they're doing the pit. And I really think you could I think you could take that sort of pit approach and you could do a diverse martial arts type show.
Right.
It really depends on the governing bodies. It depends on
That's
who's
always
sanctioning
the
what.
factor. It is
Yeah,
so stupid. I
yeah,
hate those things.
yeah.
Like, it's good for the
It
athletes. I get it. There's, you want to protect them, but at the same time, at the end of the day, are you protecting them or are you making sure that you're protecting your pocketbook? Like,
well, it's
it's
a little bit of both.
weird. Yes, exactly.
It's a little bit of both, and I think there's also uh, you know, these sanctioning bodies and governing bodies around it, like especially in Canada, well, let's say BC more. They're fairly new to it
Mhm.
as well, so everyone's trying to play by the book.
Um,
And then you have the flip side where everyone's really old school and they're
yeah.
not really open to innovating, right? So if you get stuck on either side, it's hard to make these kind of like innovative things, which is why I think you're seeing these type of more diverse shows in specific parts of America where
Right.
they're like, yeah, as long as you're do whatever you want,
Yep.
and I think
Put it
that's
on
I
the
think that's
table.
cool. Exactly. I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot of fun to be had. Thinking of like the very first Triller card I remember seeing was, I think,
Yeah.
Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson, and it was a bit of a sideshow. But you got Snoop Dogg on the mic,
Oh man. Snoop
up
Dogg
and
on
down.
commentary doing anything is fuck. I'll take that all
I
day.
was like 100%. I was like, this is awesome. This is what you need. You need, an influential, like, maybe like hip hop leaning celebrity like Snoop, who's just fun to listen to with
Full of
your
personality.
exactly with your
Yeah.
boxing talking heads with a bit
Yeah.
of personality. You need to give the guys a little bit of liquor, not too much, like a Daniel Cormier type. You know what I'm saying? And
I've
then you need to.
always said he's the drunk uncle at a barbecue, but no one has ever. Thank you for.
I
Okay,
love
I'm glad
DC.
somebody else is seeing it too. Yes.
I love DC, and
Yeah.
so
Same.
that's what we need on the commentary side. And then I think I've never been like super. I don't get on the horn about women's this and women's that. I do not. But nothing makes me more angry than when I have a female sportscaster or commentator that's just trying too hard. I
Mm,
think we need a female who's got some personality, has some skin in the game, has some experience in combat sport. You
right.
can't just be cute. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a guy. I get it. She can't not be cute, but
True.
you can't just be cute. You gotta have something intelligent to say.
Yes.
When we need that in the mix. So someone that really like represents like women's sport truly.
Mhm.
Um, and then you got a commentary team like that. You've got some interesting halftime. Like I love the idea of breakdancing and a rapper and
Yes.
wrapping in like an album release. Like, and I think we're seeing that with the how the Saudis are doing. It's like a
Yeah.
concert,
Yeah.
so it's starting to trickle in. Now, once you start getting fancy like that, the cost of production goes up and up and up and up.
So
So
true.
you just have to have, the venue on your side. You have to have, long-term thinking partners and then sponsorship dollars and anything's possible.
Yeah. So I almost think that I like what you just said about the production side of it too, because I mean, obviously you've put on these shows as well, so you know what happens behind the scenes and how much everything's for the most part put together by duct tape and bubble gum. But
Nail biting.
yes,
Out
but
of in. Yeah.
I almost want to think that people want that grungy side of it of like you just have a DJ on a stage, or you just have some random person. Like, you don't need all the glitz and glamour. Yeah, it's cute and it's fun. We all love it. But
Mm,
we all have that. Where is the other side where you have to be different than? You're either same as, different than, or, less than. So what part of the different are we doing? Because
mm,
everyone's doing the giant, like, light up boards. Everyone's doing,
mm,
the giant lights, whatever it is. Why aren't we doing like the underground, like, make it Fight Club, make it look like Fight Club?
mm,
But,
mhm,
you also obviously have a breakdancer, or you have the rapper, or any band or whatever it is.
mhm,
Go the opposite direction to where you don't have all the glitz and glamour, and people are like, oh, they have, like, very little camera work, but everything looks super cool, and, like, you want to be part of that experience, so that
mhm,
it's not just like, oh, look how many thousands of people are here. No, you
mhm,
have, like, 800 people tops, like you were talking about, and then that's
mhm.
it. But you have these gigantic names in a small little venue. It's
Yeah,
like seeing
I
your favorite band in a small venue as opposed to a giant stadium.
I agree with you. You know, it means it can mean so much more as an experience. You know,
Intimate,
we've
yeah.
been down all those avenues. You know, we thought like, fuck, we just need a guy who's got an old airplane hangar and we can turn a warehouse into
Yeah.
a boxing rave.
Right.
But you'd be so surprised how much red tape there becomes,
Oh,
and
interesting.
how, yeah, it's quite difficult to do. If you're in a certain part of the world, I think, like, I feel like Florida maybe, and Texas. Well, I know the Texas State Athletic Commission is a little bit more. They've like, it's quite tight over there.
I have not actually had to deal with them, so I do not know. I know that the wrestlers don't have to deal with them, but I
Okay.
don't know about the boxing or the MMA side of it. I do know people
Well,
that obviously
oh,
put shows on, but I have not talked to
sorry,
them about it.
it's Nevada State Athletic
Oh,
Commission.
okay.
They're a little bit tighter than you would imagine, given, like,
Right,
Vegas
considering
kind
UFC is
of.
like their home. Yeah.
Yeah,
And boxing
but
has been out of there forever.
exactly. But yeah, they're definitely a bit tighter. I don't know what Texas is like. I take that back. But Florida seems to be quite loose and open. So it really depends on where you are. There's a whole bunch of, like, in BC, there's just, the red tape is ridiculous. Like, would
Mm,
I love to find a warehouse and have a graffiti artist come and
right.
spray down the
Yes.
entire four walls, black out the roof, get a poured concrete floor, set up some stage lighting, some lasers, and have a DJ and a smoke machine. Would I love that? Yes, absolutely. But you would be so shocked, when it comes down to fire departments, permits, liquor permits, safety plans,
Uh,
safety inspectors, RCMP. It's crazy. And I find that BC, the reason why we haven't given up, but we just kind of felt like, is this worth our time? Is,
right.
you have a lot of venues here that have a lot of potential, but I don't know if you know much about, like, our cost of living in Vancouver, but we're
Oh,
on par
taxes are
with
ridiculous. Like,
New
you
York
go by,
City.
yeah, you go by anything and, like, look at the bottom of your receipt. Like, more than half of that receipt is taxes.
Yeah, so we're on par with New York City for, cost of living and
Right.
expense. And so what you've got is a bunch of venues that are basically chewing on their own margins already. And you come
Mm,
to them with an idea, and everyone's just trying to soak you for as much as they can get, because they don't know when they're going to get it again,
yep.
which creates a climate around people that don't want to take risks, and they don't want to think long term with business. They're thinking short term, get my cash, and then I'm going to be okay for X amount of time. And sadly, that's why Vancouver has been dubbed the no fun city, because you just do not have the collaborative marketplace of venues and business owners. And that's not
Mm,
even including the red tape around,
right.
RCMP, police safety, WorkSafe BC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you really get this, play everything safe,
Yeah.
actually limits a lot of creativity, especially when you have a city that's not that stoked on combat sports.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm so glad I asked that, because, like, again, there is so much of the stuff behind. Like, we all have ideas like, oh, I wish I'd have done this, or I wish they could do this. Or,
Mm-hmm.
like, well, they probably couldn't have. Like you said, like,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much red tape that most common people don't have any idea about when it comes to putting
It's
shows together
difficult.
whatsoever.
Ideas are limitless, and
Yes,
I still would say, like, it could be done. It could be done
for
elsewhere,
sure.
but you do realize, like, what are the limitations of the place you're in, and, like, the budget you have. And it's also tough as a small as a startup. Is No one really wants to start throwing their sponsorship dollars on you, because they
I
don't
don't know.
really, exactly.
Yeah.
And then once you're the UFC, you're laughing at all the businesses that turned you down, or and that's how I think it happens for everybody. People, no, 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 and then they're one day they're like, holy shit, like it's it's fucking one champion. We turned them down like,
Right.
10 years ago or something. And, I think that's just the evolution of it. You really got to hustle your ass off for those sponsorship dollars.
Sure.
But then if you have a climate of people that are protecting their wallets because, it doesn't make for great partnerships, sadly. You need people that have like, hey, yeah, if I don't see this 30K, that's okay.
Right.
If I
Yeah.
do, great. But I'm in it for the long haul. And I feel like that opportunity is far deeper. It's far deeper to see that in America from my experience living in LA and New York and all of that. So hopefully for the future we'll find ourselves
Yeah.
south of the border doing crazy shit. That would be the ideas are they're all there, and I echo your sentiment completely.
That whole area of the Pacific Northwest is just full of like such great things to do, whether you go as far down as Portland or hell, even go down as far as like Northern California, like that whole strip, like it's just full of absolutely creative people and like people
Mhm.
willing to go outside of the box to try to make things happen. And I love that area. So you'll find
Yeah,
I imagine you talk to many people and you'll find much more success.
yeah, we've been as difficult as it's been the right kind of difficult. It's been the
Yeah.
difficult we expected. And some curveballs, but we're not deterred, and then we've had a lot of support from people that have spoken to us and heard our ideas because we have some pretty, good ideas. And so that's encouraging, especially when you have people who know the game so deeply and intimately from multiple sides, that give you, a thumbs up on some things you're working on, and that's really encouraging. So I do think it'll happen. It's just it's like a mixture of like hustle and patience, so
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes hustle doesn't necessarily go along with patience, but then there is patience needed, and you're
True.
constantly navigating that, still trying to like run your day job and think about growing yourself and your plan B's and C's and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, yeah, I'm still at a point where I think the future looks bright, and I know I'll find my way into like boxing or MMA or
Mhm.
or a multi. I would love to one day. I would love to like sit on a commentary team, doing some kind of show that we were just describing.
Yeah.
I think that would be
I would love that. Yeah, I think you'd be great at it.
yeah. I would love to see that kind of come to fruition, and I believe it's possible.
Yeah. So like you said, it's just constantly spinning plates and also planting seeds at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, so you also have a podcast as well. So
I do.
from one podcaster to another, how did it start? How is it, going? What have been some kind of like milestones that you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm talking to this person right now.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's cool, and it's fun to be a guest on a show. Just coming from the other side of the mic. But we started doing the podcast pretty early on. We started we used it as a way to create basically like media material for our
Yeah.
boxers that we're having on our shows. We eventually ended up developing a documentary, and we weaved in a lot of the
Oh,
audio
that's
clips from
awesome.
our yeah we did our screening of our documentary before our last show in a local theater, and it was fucking awesome. And so the podcast has
Congratulations.
really
That's huge.
integrated it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and the podcast became really an important part of that because we set up a live podcast with the weigh-ins. So we try to talk to every
Mm.
fighter. We try to have the fighters in on the podcast before. So it started basically around a media generation kind of tool to go alongside with our shows. And then eventually we kind of we had talked to a lot of the local people, and we started doing a little bit more remote dipping into, the Toronto, Montreal boxing scene. We started talking to some of my friends from LA and New York, Taylor Ramsdell, who's a Bivol strength and conditioning coach. Met him when I was living in LA. We started talking to like Julian Shua, guys like that. And then it kept kind of growing and growing. And I think we've done 50 episodes now.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and I think for me, this past year has been the most important for launching kind of like season two. And I've been able to talk to some amazing people, starting with like Roberto Diaz,
Wow.
talking to, Oscar De La Hoya's matchmaker for 15 years. The guy is like one of the most connected. He's the guy that's in every photo that you don't notice. And
Right.
then once you know him, you're like, oh my God, he's with Manny. Oh my God, he's this guy. So he was
Yeah.
involved in so many deep deals. Getting guys started in boxing that have become world champions, and it has been really cool to see because he has one of the best reputations in the game.